Members from President County Four, and it's time for prayer. Let's pray. Our Father, who art the hope of all the earth, remember us in love and guide us by thy wisdom. We ask thee to grant blessings upon thy servants, our community leaders, our county mayor, commissioners, especially Scott Johnson, who's having surgery either today or tomorrow. Be with him and his family. Also, consider our city mayors, newly elected, and the councilmen that are elected. Bless us with all of us with the spirit of wisdom, goodness, and truth. May law and order, justice, and peace prevail. Defend our liberties, preserve our unity, and guide our community. In honor of thy holy name. Amen. Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of October 18, 2022, rules and legislative committee minutes. Who will approve? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The second item is consideration of placing the November 8th, 2022 commission minutes on the December 13th, 2022 county commission meeting agenda.
Make a motion to place those on the agenda without a recommendation.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Next item, consideration of placing the notary applicants on the December 13th, 2022 county commission agenda as requested by County Clerk Donna Thomas. Who will approve? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The Veterans Report is closed. In October, there were 66 veterans that were transported to the VA hospitals, and 68 veterans came by the office. And I believe it was up. I believe we transported 6 more, and there were about 10 more veterans that came by the office. Mike, how was the Veterans Day Parade? Was it?
It went.
Okay, yeah. It was Friday.
It went.
It seemed like it was early in the week, wasn't it? How did it go?
It was Saturday.
Saturday?
Yes,
Okay.
Saturday. It went well. I mean, for the cold and the rumor that it was canceled, other than that, it went pretty well.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for all the work you're doing with our veterans. You know, the thing about it is, if it weren't for you guys, I don't care, it's not the preachers, it's not the politicians, it's not the judges, it's the men and women who put that uniform on yesterday, today, and tomorrow to preserve our very rights that we have in here today. Every single one of us owe them, every single one of them, a debt of gratitude. So on our behalf, thank you to what you're doing to help our veterans and supporting our veterans.
Just to add one more.
Second that.
All in favor? No. Other than that, in first week in February, I'm going to Washington, D.C. I've become a national advocate for the Vietnam veterans and their records. So I'm working on that. I've got to meet with some committee over there. I don't know who I'm meeting with. But anyway, I'm going to be able to talk to them about their records because I've noticed it and I brought it up in the state training. And so I'm going to work on that nationwide.
Okay, so a motion to approve the Veterans Report.
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next, Agricultural Board, they have a meeting.
We were gonna meet Monday, we had 1 or 2 illness, and we had one of our members had a family member pass away, and I think it was cold or smothered, to be honest with you, like today, not enough for. But we do have the bid out, Mr. Daniel put out, I believe Mayor may touch on this as well, we've got that bid out for the restrooms now. So it went out up for bid, so we're all good to go on getting that restroom out there, which is gonna be.
As far as I know,
Yeah, as far as I know, yes. And the lighting in the building too, the big things we got out for bid for the restaurant. And that's gonna help the facility, the fair, and everybody.
Okay, the next item is a community clinic, the report's in our packet. Again, the medical side of it, there were 75 patients seen. Dr. Luda and Dr. Talbot did most of that volunteer work. And then, I think on the dental side of it, there were only, I think, 9 dental clinics. I believe there was 9, and Dr. Craver did most of the volunteer work this month. It looks like they're doing some free lung skins provided for children. And it was done through the Memorial Hospital in Chattanooga. And then also free mammograms provided by Essentia, St. Thomas, and the Susan B. Komen Foundation in Nashville. So it looks like there's some other services that I've not seen listed before that are being provided, which that's great. More services we can have for these people, and the better off we are.
And you know, for the new people who are elected freshmen, this is really something you need to look at, because these guys, they do a tremendous job. They take people who have insurance, but the family doesn't have coverage. And these people come there, and it really helps the middle class people, it helps people who are struggling, they're working. And they're actually working out here, so we support them every way we can. Trudy Aluska is just a tremendous person, and the people, they've got the people from Harry, those doctors that they want, unbelievable, they're so good at helping. So this is a really good cause, and if you want to get behind something, this is really something to do behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we do, that's just for our information, but we do need to report on it and nice job you're doing, we appreciate what you're doing for our community. Okay, under new business, standing committee membership and annual review, which just to be put on, as last year, we're gonna read it, the Rules Legislative Committee, acting as a nominating committee, shall submit nominations for standing committee positions to the board of commissioners based personal seniority and individual preference. Our standing committees of the board of commissioners shall be elected annually by the majority of the board of commissioners at January term of the board. Nominations are requested by December 20th of the next meeting. Normally, of course, we've never elected them like we have this year after the election, so I don't know how important this is. I'd say most everybody's in the position they're gonna want to stay in. I don't know. We'll find out in December. But as I said, prior years, and as I said before, we hadn't done it quite that way. So this was very important. So this is where a lot of stuff will take place normally. But whatever, it's still on there. It's still, if you have any requests, any changes, I guess I guess it wants to switch, but it is requested that you make a request to this committee, and then we'll put it on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd just like, at the first of the year, after we get the standing committees done and so forth, and you had said something about it before, but I'd like to open up the bylaws to get all of that very clarified, so that the next election, we don't run into this. And plus, Ginger Bobo has a couple of things that she thinks needs to be changed that clarify a few other things, doesn't have anything to do with much, but, so it's not just the one thing, we've got 3 or 4 things that need to be addressed.
Okay. But if Ginger wants to, or if you can get what she wants to do,
Well, what mine and her suggestion was that at the first of the year, that we have a study session, anybody wants to come, anybody wants to listen to what needs changing and what her wording is on it, and then bring it before we like.
I think we talked about that the first of the year, we will.
So just keep that in mind, I'll bring that up probably January, February, to get that done for spring.
that'll be fine. So we'll go to look at the bylaws and the agenda. Okay, the next item is rezoning request. It's placed on the Rules Legislative Committee agenda by the Planning Commission with a favorable recommendation of Wayne Sullivan, Chief Manager of JDSP LLC, is seeking to have map 52, parcel 022.02, which is approximately 1.800 acres, at 1170 Bell Buckle Ward Trace at the corner of Fairfield Pike, rezoned from A1 to C1. The proposed use will be for a convenience store. Nearby uses include Cascade School across the street. Bedford County EMA has a building less than 300 feet away on Fairfield Pike, and a preschool. And formatted, a convenience market is located 2 parcels south on the Bell Buckle Wood Trace Road. The staff, I guess that's a planning committee, the staff, I've never seen the staff, I said it's a planning committee, isn't it?
Yes.
The planning committee, has no objection.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I told you wrong, that would be the staff of the planning committee has no objections. I think is what they're saying.
So it ain't clear the full.
It came from the planning
It came
commission.
from planning commission.
Planning, the staff is just telling me they don't have any reservations because it's being sent up by the planning commission.
If I remember, it was unanimous.
Yes.
One other thing,
Unfavorable?
No, it's favorable.
favorite. Mr. Chairman, one other thing on that, he's gonna, because there was a lot of, discussion about just that congestion at that four-way stop. He and the state engineers are gonna get together for cutting off some of that frontage of the property and doing some stuff right in there. And he's very willing to do whatever the state asks him to do.
Mr. Chairman,
We have a map in here, but I don't have one of these.
yes, this is in your district, Mr. Maddox, Mr. Hooker, you're familiar with these zoning requests, are you okay?
I have not, this is the first I've heard of it, I did not get any, I wasn't at the planning commission, but I do know that in that area, we get a ton of complaints from the congestion at Cascade School. From about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, till about roughly 3 o'clock, and then early in the morning from roughly 7:30 till 8 o'clock. It is very difficult to get through there. I would be very cautious in adding a lot there, until we get a full study, done in that area, because they've got to do something with the traffic because it's nearly impassable those times during the day.
Yeah, and I agree, this is the first I've heard of it as well, but when I realized where it was, I echo Mr. Hooker's sentiment. That's a high traffic area, so I would definitely appreciate the study like you mentioned.
Well, the planning commission's already studied, the planning commission's recommended it, and the staff doesn't have any objections, so now it's up to us to recommend something to the full commission. So it's your district, what is your opinion on what we should do?
So number one, I'd like to see that study.
I think I'd like to see it postponed until we can get a little bit more information if possible. I don't wanna, I need more information before I can make a proper recommendation.
100% agree.
Mr. Chairman, then we defer this for 30 days? Would that be a problem with the planning commission?
That makes, and I'm not one way or the other, it makes me nervous because in the zoning request, you're supposed to act on them within a certain period of time. So I would just send it to the commission with no recommendation or
Okay.
something.
That
And
gives
then
you,
you all get with Chris and see
gives you
what
30
this
days.
laid out.
Yeah, because we don't have anything included in here to see.
Well, then, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion, we send it to the full commission without a recommendation.
I second. Okay, is there any other discussion? I agree with that, and then the commission can decide what
That
they're.
doesn't put us in,
Yes.
it makes me nervous.
Well, yeah, no, I think you're doing right by putting it on there and letting it be discussed with everybody.
And if we can find any information to give you in advance, we'll do it. I'll meet with Chris too and see. I don't think that information's in my office. But if it is, we'll get it to you and we'll see what we can do to get you that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second without, yes.
What, didn't Mark Clanton and the state do a study on traffic several years ago? I don't know if Shay was aware or not. That might be helpful for you all.
Several years.
High school. They were at the high school.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
They were looking about roundabout not too long ago.
So
I remember that.
Yeah, there might be some information out there that, I don't know.
It was a big fiasco
Yeah.
with the traffic.
Yes.
It's still.
It wasn't,
Yeah.
It's cool.
So, I mean, if, postponing this for 30 days, is that off the table?
Yes,
No, we're gonna put it to the commission, then the commission can do it.
in 30 days. That gives you 30 days to take a look at it.
It's pretty appropriate for this committee to go and push it to the commission, and then it's sorted out there, where everybody has to say so. That's pretty normal.
I think particularly on this kind of issue, if I can speak, and I think Linda can clear this up, but there's some rules about this zoning planning stuff. If they don't act in so many days by default, they get it.
So you
So
wanna be
we don't,
careful.
and I'm not sure that's the case here, but I think that's what's making people pause or hesitate with the conversation, not that we think we have a piece of information you don't have. I don't have it, but I'm pretty sure that you could wind up by default then getting it if we were to delay it too much.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we'll make sure and do our research and bring good information back to the commission here in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and Chris can give us maybe some more information.
And Mark Clanton might be, I know he's looked at it and had a whole bunch of suggestions of how to set the store back further than it was so that easier turn in and widen and that. But I don't have those with me.
Okay, there's a motion second, right?
Correct.
Is there any more discussion? Any question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next is, number 9, is another rezoning request, placed on the Roseville Legislative Committee agenda by Planning Commission with an unfavorable recommendation. Joseph Fulton is seeking to have map 42 parcel 037.03, which is approximately 1.01 acres, 34, Highway 41A North, rezoned from A1 to C1. Proposed use will be for a convenience store, which also plans to serve hot food. The property has been a farmer's market, the grandfathered convenience market for fuel, a bar at one point. But its lack of having any like commercial uses for more than 36 months has resulted in its losing its grandfather. There is also a grandfather mini storage facility neighboring the property to the west. Nearby uses are predominantly agricultural and light residential. The staff has no particular objections to the historical commercial uses. However, from a zoning perspective, rezoning parcel A will be considered spot zoning, as there are no like uses or zone parcels nearby.
Again, that's in your district, Mr. Booker.
No,
No.
that's usable.
It was,
Okay, all right, and
it was
it's
the
in-
empty bottle too, on Unionville Highway.
That's one down from Old Big Thompson Park.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Oh, right next to Old Virginia.
Yeah, right past Longview
Okay,
there.
so your suggestion, comments?
That's a tough call because he was grandfathered in commercial and he's still, even though he hadn't actively been commercial usage, it's still a commercial building sitting there for usage for commercial. So that's a tough call. I understand the spot zoning and things like that, but still, it's gonna be, it should be a commercial building because that's what.
It probably make it look better than it is now.
Yeah, exactly. But
Well, the planning commission,
There's nothing in a reachable range of it that's commercial now. That's when, I think Chris has got in there the spot zoning. So we're trying to be as careful as we can.
But if they don't build something there, what would happen if the property falls as it is, do you think?
sure, yeah, they're not gonna do anything if they can't do
They
commercial.
can build a house.
Yeah, they tear it down or something. Who knows?
Now, there's storage buildings on the property too, right? Just
Like I say.
mini storage.
Yeah.
Remember when they fixed the fence? I go by there pretty often, but I couldn't say, but one time I thought they fixed the fence around the storage facility and cleaned up down there.
They did, but they were getting a lot of the empty bottle patrons over toward there. They tried to do that separate so they wouldn't get over there in those buildings, so. I believe commercial would be better than empty bottle, but, you know,
Mr. Chairman, what we want to avoid is any spot zoning issues. But what we're hearing is that there is opportunity advantage for economic development out there that will decrease the likelihood of services to that community. So I think that is our backdrop of where we should send it up to the commission. But since it's been sent up with an unfavorable recommendation, I think that we perhaps need to send it up with no recommendation if everyone is agreeing on
I
that.
second.
Yeah, I agree.
And I will make a motion, we send it to the full commission with no recommendation.
He usually states in the minutes that it came with no recommendation, but an unfavorable, or whatever the planning commission recommends. Right.
It's on
Yeah, it's on there. Yeah, it was unfavorable unanimous.
Commissioner, you
I
second?
second it, yes.
Okay, is there any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have, the ethics policy has, is, again, we had it in our packet, from last Tuesday. Read through it, there's still quite a bit going on there. Tried to look up the other one, and personally, I'd like to look at that a little bit longer. I couldn't find my other one from when it was first established, and I looked for it, and I couldn't, I got it somewhere, but it's quite a bit. I don't know exactly what has been changed and what hadn't been changed. And, CTAS, I didn't, know that even, I don't know how this came about.
Yeah, if you're okay with me speaking, I'll tell you.
Yes.
the state updated their ethics policy. We were riding under the umbrella of the current state ethics policy. They, actually, Shanna through HR had caught some things that we thought the language might be conflicting. We talked with CTAS, they agreed with that, but needed to make some corrections at the state level to adopt the standard policy. This is what this is. Now, the county, and she's here, she can answer any questions you have. My understanding is the county wants to tweak this policy, you can, but it's gonna require a different act than if you just accept the state. This is the state's standard. If we just want to stay with the state standard, that's what this is, but studying it another month makes a lot of sense. But I've got her here if you wanna ask anything tonight, and we can have her here next month if you want to just not get into that tonight, but just take it and study it. But the only things that are changed from what's in there is what the state did. The county did not lean in on this issue.
Chairman Barrett, may I be recognized?
Yes.
Okay, so to answer your question, in the third whereas clause, the recent changes were specifically to the provision of the financial system of 81. They wanted to update the language for the purchasing procurement department, specific to what employees in that department were permissible to do. They wanted to clean that language up. And the other, is not even applicable to us, it's purchasing law of 1957. You all, as a legislative body, adopted your ethics policy when it became law in 2006, and it was the ethics policy language approved by the state attorneys at the state comptroller's office, and it was approved by the General Assembly. There's a TCA statute separate that says CTAS has a responsibility to send any update to the language out to all counties. You all can choose to adopt it as is, which just requires an acknowledgement and to be spread across the minutes. And then that requires Donna Thomas as your county clerk to send it back to the State Ethics Commission to let them know that we're not on the 06 policy anymore. We're on the 2022 version. But the changes specifically for this had to do with the finance department and the purchasing department solely, and that's what this attachment
And
is.
this puts us in compliance with the
Yes,
state
this puts-
statute.
This
with
puts you
specifically
updated, because this entire, ethics policy that Commissioner Vera is referencing was approved by the state attorneys, and it was approved at the General Assembly by, the state Senate and the House of Representatives. And then it was sent back to all counties to be adopted. If you all wanted to go through, like Mayor Graham said, and study it, and you wanted to change anything about it, the first time you changed any word in here, that's fine, that's the will of the commission, but it's gonna require more than just an acknowledgement and it's spread across the minutes. But
So,
we'll do what you
And
tell
if I
us
could
to
say
do.
that, on that note, what the state is saying to us, this is the minimum standard. If you would
Yes.
like to be more restrictive, you
Mhm.
can do that, but you can't be less restrictive, and that's why we've got to update to acknowledge what the current minimal state standard for ethics is, which is
And I
this.
And I would point out your very last clause of your ethics policy on the very back, the applicable state law. It's your safe harbor, Chairman Fair. It talks about, in addition to the ethical principles set out in the Code of Ethics, state law provides framework for behavior of officials and applicable employees. And it puts it back on those officials and the employees to know what the state law is outside of what's been referenced in the purchasing and in requirements. And then upon approval, which is what Commissioner Yawkey wanted when I first came on board, was when I do the onboardings with all employees, that they have a signed acknowledgement in their personnel file.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it looks like if we open this up, we're gonna have to, this will be a long, protracted discussion.
We got time.
Okay,
I certainly will study it.
okay.
I don't know how long it's gonna be, but I think we need to look at it.
Are we
This
under a
was-
time frame to adopt it?
We're not under a time, you can stay under the 06,
Okay.
but specifically what you're gonna find when you compare the two documents is the changes are specific only to the purchasing section of the 81 Act, and then the 57 Act, which still is in there. That's why that language remains in the policy before you, even though it's not applicable to us. I can't pull that out without.
We were probably under 57 prior to 81.
I don't believe you know.
No,
I don't
we were
believe
in
you
general
know that. No, there's just some counties that still operate under it, but because it's a 30,000 foot. But what I would reference is, and your local attorney has already looked at it as well. So this has been studied by be attorneys.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, we'll roll this to 30 days and have a chance for all of us to look at it, make some comments, and a little further discussion, and get some input if we need to do anything else.
You said defer 1 month back to this committee?
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
yes, it'll stay in committee for 1 month. Is there a second for the motion? Second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, of course, I think you should decide that, Mr. Baker County Powers Act resolution is still on hold, we're still waiting to see. Has that been rescheduled yet?
That
Do you know?
workshop is scheduled for this month. I did not bring my calendar.
Okay, but let us know.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've got an email
Yeah,
out.
we're waiting for that. I think the last time this body touched this issue, they were gonna, because there was a workshop coming, we wanted to delay
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
decided
that's why I
to
didn't
do.
know when the workshop was.
I think, do we have
But when you find out, let us know, so.
Yeah, we'll make sure.
I will
We
send
can
a
certainly
blanket
go,
email.
and then we can take action. But I would like to study to hear something from you.
I believe wholeheartedly.
See that. Okay, that'll be fine, so we don't need to do anything, but we need to just know when that training
I
is.
will have that in a county email from the mayor tonight, and he can,
Yeah, I'll send it out.
distribute to every member of the commission.
Okay, that's great.
And the planning
And
commission.
another thing we talked about last time, Commissioner Hooker, and actually the homeless, task force, what's the status on that real quickly? We'll hold it like it is, but you can bring us up to date on that.
Yes, sir. I'm working on our side. I have sent that and met with the city, the new city manager. He was gonna be bringing that up to the city council for their input on their side. I'm still waiting on word back from him to be able to finalize that piece of it. And then when I get that all together, I'll bring it back to this body so y'all know exactly where we're at.
Thank you. And Commissioner Anderson wants to discuss
Well, I'm just gonna hand out information for everybody, y'all pass these down. This is a resolution that Commissioner Booker and I have been working on about possibly rezoning, zoning resolution for Bedford County, changing some things before we don't have that situation we had out Longview Road. But all I want you to do is review it for a month, and we'll talk about it next month. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Can I add something to that, Mike Helper? Monday night at 7, and I was gonna ask you under announcements, but since we brought this up. Planning Commission is gonna have a study session, to look at not just the regular subdivisions, but PUDs, use of the urban growth boundary as density, and as you come out the county, toward the end, less dense, and several other things, so that's where it's got to start, you know, just a reminder.
where is it and what's happening?
Just a reminder, the commission has always got to send stuff to the planning commission to do and then back to y'all. It'll be here at 7 o'clock. So, I'm not sure what Bill's resolution says, but
Let's just,
we've got a study session starting, and, I entreat everybody to come and have your input.
Is it
because
Monday?
7 o'clock here,
Monday.
Monday, yes. And, because the whole document will have to be changed quite a bit, and we want to get it to a point that's acceptable, there's no point sending it to the county commission, so.
And if I could, Mr. Chairman, in the minutes from, last month, we said that the, workshop was in December and that we would, put it back on the agenda for January. Talking about the Powers Act, sorry.
right, we just need to know when that.
Yeah, we'll get you the exact date.
That'd be great, because I think several of us expressed an interest in going.
Oh, yeah, we should.
Okay, any other business come before the Rules Committee?
I'd like to talk a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Good, good, good.
Anybody speak?
I just want to talk a little bit about the Tennessee Investment and Student Achievement System, which is the new school funding. What I'm gonna recommend, and I'll explain why I'm recommending, is that we get somebody from the state to come and explain. I think really the whole commission needs to understand it. It's a little bit different than what we had in the past. We had what we call the EEP. In 2020, for example, Bedford County per pupil spending was $8,264. We were at the bottom of the South Central Florida District. And of all the counties, 142 school districts funded by the counties in the state, and we were third from the bottom. Now, this TISA, Tennessee Investment and Student Achievement, goes in effect, I think, 23, 24.
school year, fiscal year. The state's gonna give 70% funding, and whereas and counties will have to give 30%. I think what they just lump all counties together and then ration out based on your ability to pay. And what that 30% is, some counties have to pay more, some less. But anyway, with all that said, we're gonna get a lot more money. Every student gets $6,860 in the base amount, but there's an add-on, and as it relates to economically disadvantaged, concentrated poverty, limited English, and unique learning needs. And for example, here in Bedford County, we've got 13.6 that have limited English proficiency. So with that, we get another $2,608 due to all those categories. So it's on an individual student basis as opposed to a system. Now the county portion is not changing. And so bottom line is, we're going to get $10,059 per pupil. You compare that back to $8,264, we're going to be at $1,759. And in our South Central Core District, there'll be 10 systems below us. So we're making significant stride upward in the funding. Yeah, quite a bit. So it's been a good thing. As I mentioned, the county portion didn't go up, and neither had any other counties. The state's gonna give like a moratorium for a period. I think the talk is for 5 years, but who knows? But with that said, most of the counties in our little district, which includes counties like Hickman County, Wayne County, Murray County, Lewis, Perry, Coffee County, and Franklin, both counties. Most of the counties give 30% more than the minimum that TISA requires. 30% more, it's average. But Bedford only gives, or funds 4% more than the minimum that TISA requires from the county. But they're gonna hold off on this, so, I would expect sometime when the state says, we go look to the counties and balance, you know, what you're giving, they may require Bedford County to pay more. And so with that, you know, how do you fund that? So tax increase, I just don't think it's a good issue. I think the real way to go about it is economic development, where we have more revenue in the county from, you know, business and homes and such that, you know, we get more tax revenue. It's, you know, just basically with economic development. But with that said, I think that's the way I'm reading all of this. But I think it would really be good to have somebody from the state come explain it. Maybe the way I presented it is not correct. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully I'm not correct. But I do think we all need to understand it. So if we make decisions, if we get things from the school system, if we make decisions about business development, we understand the backdrop of funding education, because I think, and I don't have Robert here, but I think education is the biggest portion of our budget.
Absolutely.
And that is the biggest, probably what, 2/3 of it? 2/3, that's the big number. That's the big number. So I think we need to understand the new funding act. I would recommend that we do that. And that, so that's all I have to say.
Can I say something in
Yes,
regards to that?
Yes.
The County Mayors Association, all 95 of us around the table, monitoring this closely. Most every county considers this a win with this new formula and how it's going to. Because so many of the counties like Bedford were economically disadvantaged, high Hispanic populations, disabilities, these things that the old formula didn't account for. So we're seeing money come in, that's true. The last thing we heard, and this has changed 100 times, so it won't be accurate in the final, but you're right, that at the end of the day, the last thing I heard was that they're basically gonna land 30% to the counties. All the counties will be paying the 30%, but there will be some factor on your ability to pay and all.
Yeah.
But there's at least a 3 to 5 year moratorium before the counties will be asked to adjust beyond what they currently get, which you're saying those things. I'm just saying to you, those are the things that we're hearing. But as soon as we, and the Mayor's Association put a lot of pressure on the state to tell us what that number is, because I need to know that number this year, not 3 years into it and gotta find $5 million that we've never been spending there in 12 months. We need, between now and however long the moratorium goes, to continue to model and make sure that we have set aside or a path to pick those funds up without having to necessarily go to property tax to try to correct that issue. So all the county, I just say this to say, all the counties across the state of Tennessee are looking at this. I think most people think this is a win for education with the
Right,
new
it is.
formula, but there is some heartburn downstream, and it's not clear yet what they've not, I'm not aware that numbers have been given per county, what you're looking at your increase at yet, but they are, we got lobbyists working on that.
Well, I got a couple of things to say. One, you know, salary-wise, we're pretty much on average of teacher salaries, professional salaries in the schools. The way, you know, since we have been so low in our school funding, the way we've achieved that make it balance, is we don't have the staff that other systems, maybe like in all the South Central Four District. And then looking at the TASER, comes up with a per pupil physical capacity. And if you take that and subtract what we're giving locally in 2020, our physical capacity was 2,037 in school year 2019, 2020. We were giving 1,506, that's a variance of $530. If you multiply that by the number of students, we had 8,768. We have an unfavorable variance, 4,651,000.
I knew it was about 5 million, that's why I threw
Yeah,
that number out too.
So what I'm trying to say is, historically, we've had a big difference in what we should be giving, or what we're capable of giving, or what the state say we should give. And whether it's right or not, I don't know, but that's what the state numbers are. And so that's a big variance, so I think we need to understand it as quickly as we can, so whatever we gotta do, last thing we want is, like they did with the jailers, you know, last minute, say, oh, why did we need that? More jailers. You know, you don't need that.
Yeah, 5 should be the high end for Bedford on what we think we know today. But we're hoping that there's gonna be some relief because of economic disadvantage, because of high. So we don't really, again, we sit here with not knowing the number, but we would be remiss not to know in the back of our mind, we could be having to close the gap on $5 million.
Yeah, and I think you need somebody from the state to explain it, because I've been reading through this.
Oh, yeah,
You know, would you be able to do that with maybe before this committee or the commission, have someone make a presentation from either TASER or
Yeah.
this board
We
to
reach out,
explain the financing on this, what the mayor's saying?
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to circumvent the superintendent here.
Oh, no, but this
For
is,
some reason, I haven't heard the superintendent mentioned.
this is all
Yeah,
about
yeah.
money.
Before it goes here.
This is all about money.
But
That's
again,
not our job.
But they come to us for money, and I just think we need to understand.
Absolutely, we do.
Rules of the game. Now, can I ask you this? I think we have planned for the last couple of years a new elementary school. I'd like for the superintendent to let us know some progress on that at the next available time, if she would just let us know where we are on that, because we've moved down the line on this long enough. And we need to-
She'll have a quarterly, she'll have her quarterly thing coming up here soon on
She
South
will,
Carolina.
and monthly at finance, she's reporting, and you should see it in your minutes.
And
Give
we'll
an
ask her,
update.
we'll ask her at finance. to
Yeah,
give us
and
a
she's
little
been,
update
so
on
you
that.
should catch it there too, but yes, she does.
Quarterly, she'll have all that too.
And I'm sure she'd be happy to come before the commission,
Sure.
at any time that you guys would want to ask specific questions.
We don't have anything, the school board makes policy. We don't make, all we do is approve money. So all we care about is how much money we have to spend, and that's our responsibility, it's solely our responsibility.
Well, let me just lay one more thing down, and we'll definitely set up with it. UT does some projections, and they do population projections. And from 2020, 2040, which is 20 years, it looks like we're probably going to have 1,000 more kids if things stay the way they project. Obviously, that can change, who knows what might happen, but that's the way they got it projected now. But even if half of that, 500 more kids, that's a lot of.
How did you come up with that number? How did you,
Well, you just take the population they project, or that is in 2020, and what they project in 2040, 2040, and you take the history of percentage of people in school age of total population, and then apply that to the population increase, that gives you basically numbers. So,
And It's a guess, but I believe that.
Yes.
You're just coming off the school board, she's just coming off the school board as well, but I think we've been trending 100+ kids a year new to the system anyway, haven't you? Just on what we know today, so if you use that fuzzy math, you're gonna get over 1,000 in 20 years anyway, you're talking
I
about
thought
2,000.
thousands thought it was lower.
Yeah, that's what I was, yeah, so.
Anyhow, we're about 20 years, none of us.
Yeah, but 20 years, my problem.
That's where about now here.
20 years from now, I'll be talking to you from the.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it, think about it today and plan for it.
Okay, any other comments,
It's like
questions?
John said, I mean, we're laying the foundation now for 40 years down the road, and if we do it right, if we lay that foundation good for people who come in behind us as well.
You know, whether we agree on things or not, we at least need to know the lay of the land.
We pretty much always support education.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
We've never put education on the back burner that I recall, ever. The next thing I've got in my Nico as well, I think I'm supposed to go to Tennessee Back Road Heritage meeting. Supper at, are you gonna be there at 6? I don't think so. But anyhow, Charlene Woodson, I finally got a petition in, that it says, we, the undersigned residents of the 4th District of Bedford County, do petition request the Bedford County Commission approve naming the bridge spanning the Bedford River on Sims Road in memory of Jimmy Woodson. I just wanna let you know, she'll come next month and talk, and if you've got any questions for her, she does have a petition signed, and the number of people there, we'll go through it, we will here, and we'll just, discuss it, whatever it takes, and then we'll push it on to the commission, and it'll be voted on the full commission floor, whenever we get it out of rules, which hopefully will probably be January. Okay, so that's just sort of announcements. Any other announcements? Being none, so motion to adjourn. Okay, so moved.